Chapter 532. In the illusion, the battle has begun. The young Chunin shouted and rushed forward. Go! Catch Uchiha Madara alive. You have been surrounded by us. In addition to being young and aggressive, not dying in the illusion is also an important factor. Uchiha Madara crossed his arms and jumped down from the mountain in the illusion. Do you want to dance too? As his voice fell, a huge blue samurai body was outlined around him. Then, 25-wood clone Jetsu jumped out of his body, and also used Susanoo. This scene made everyone a little lost. What? Can Jetsu use this trick? He must be bluffing. Use the earth release to stop these giants. However, the attack of the wood clone Jetsu broke their illusion. Whether it was turning around to escape, or using ninjutsu defense, they couldn't catch those Susanoo giants. It's not over yet. Madara's body and Susanoo printed at the same time. And the next moment, 3 huge meteorites broke through the clouds and fell in the shape of a triangle. Although the candidates have long heard of this ability of Uchiha Madara, it's not as shocking as seeing it with their own eyes. This terrible picture is like the sky falling, and the pressure brought by it is unparalleled by any giant. Damn it, our strength is not in the same dimension as his. He's so strong in his soul state. What kind of monster did the leader fight against? Hearing their despair, Madara's mouth twitched. A group of idiots. The one who really faced the monster is me. Although Hashirama was strong, he didn't make him feel invincible. But that man was so strong that even he couldn't understand him. God knows how he survived at that time. Hearing Madara's resentment, many people were stunned. Shursui hasn't fought for 5 years. And the image that appeared in front of them was a gentle and kind gentleman. So they subconsciously forgot that Shursui was more terrible than Madara. Then, they were killed by Madara's resentment. From the beginning to the present, it was just a few seconds, and Madara's body didn't even move, and just a few prints forced them into a desperate situation. The 5 shadows in the audience were not surprised at all by this result. If Uchiha Madara is defeated by these little guys, then he won't be the nightmare of an era. They had only guessed how long these little fellows could last. They did not think that they could achieve any decent results. How tragic. Reikage couldn't help but sigh. The second enemy is Uchiha Madara. Did the leader personally decide this? Empress Shomi had a worried look in her eyes. Even if the 5 of us join the battle, the outcome won't change much. Isn't it too early for them to fight against such a strong enemy? Mizukage, you spoil these little guys too much. Inoki shook his head in dissatisfaction. You see, the war has only been over for a few years, and the environment inside the alliance is so impetuous that even a strong enemy like Madara doesn't know how to be respectful. Raza nodded. The leader must want this impetuous environment to settle down. At the same time, he wants them to understand what kind of enemy their predecessors were fighting against in the past. Minato smiled slightly. If they are afraid of a battle where they won't die, then such people should be paid attention to. In the dream world, after experiencing the bombardment of Susanoo and meteorites, the number of candidates has been severely reduced. It wasn't until this time that they really realized the importance of unity. A clear and melodious female voice sounded in everyone's heart. I am Ino Yamanaka of Konoha, and I am now communicating with you through the mind communication technique. In order to break his defense, we must join forces. The rest of the people were not surprised and quickly adapted. How to unite? It's already difficult to avoid the attack. How can we fight back? Everyone discussed, and for a while, they couldn't distinguish any useful information at all. Ino directly activated silence. There is not much time, so don't discuss. After I release the restriction, you can directly say your position, and we will work together to create conditions for the main attacker. The rest of the people were all outstanding people. After calming down, they quickly agreed on a result. Then, the people who had been running for their lives rushed toward Uchiha Madara, in the central area at the same time. They thought very clearly that with their strength, it was too difficult to destroy the 25 giant clones. Even if they were destroyed, maybe Madara could create a dozen more clones in the next moment. Therefore, after leaving some people to hold back those clones, the rest of the people rushed toward Madara. This kind of awareness and momentum surprised Madara. It seems that Shimizu Garashi really taught a lot of interesting kids. But I won't let you win. With the momentum and determination to destroy everything, the control group was the first to make a move. Earth Release, Yellow Spring Swamp. Earth Release, Mountain Earth Release. Ninjutsu, Heart Confusion Technique. Ninjutsu, Shadow Bind Technique. Sand Burial. Various binding and controlling skills were thrown on Madara, and for a while, even the giant warrior transformed by Susanoo was sealed. Great! However, their joy only lasted for a moment. Shinra Tensei. The sand and rocks that bound the giant were all bounced away, but their efforts were not completely in vain. While Madara was controlled, the attack group had already completed their ninjutsu. Fire Release, Great Fireball Technique. Earth Release, Rock Fist. Water Release. However, Madara absorbed most of the attacks just by absorbing Chakra's ability with Rinnegan. It's useless, it's useless. At this time, Deidara's voice came from behind him. Then let's try this trick. Madara didn't care much at first, but after perceiving the terrible density of chakra, his face finally changed. Feel this ultimate art drink. Deidara shouted fanatically. The process was smooth, and there was no trace of blockage. Through the simulation in the dream world, he has been very skilled in death. The terrible beam of light shrouded Madara, and the others in an instant. The dazzling white light filled the whole space, and the space shook violently as if it was about to collapse. Even the people watching in the real world could feel the shock of this scene. Good, that guy's self-destruction is so strong. Is he dead? Even Uchiha Madara should have lost, right? In the expectant eyes of the people outside, the dust dissipated, revealing Susanoo's broken body. Seeing this, the people in the square were in an uproar. Can't this level of attack work? So Deidara's self-destruction only took away his teammates in the end. Everyone was shocked, and they couldn't help but think, Uchiha Madara in his soul state is already so strong. How strong is the leader who defeated him? Chapter 533. So this is Uchiha Madara's strength? Too strong. Uncle used to fight this kind of enemy? Boron clenched his fist and asked. Compared with his heyday, this is nothing. The middle-aged Sasuke shook his head slightly. He wasn't surprised by this result. Deidara's self-explosion was very strong, but it didn't completely blow up the bodies of all snakes that he used to escape, let alone the complete body Susanoo, which was far stronger than all snakes. Being able to achieve this result was the result of Uchiha Madara's strength, not in his heyday. It seems that this exam is over. The middle-aged Sasuke was suddenly shocked and shouted in disbelief. This is Flying Thunder God Jutsu? What surprised him even more was that the person who used Flying Thunder God Jutsu in the picture turned out to be him in this time and space. The middle-aged Sasuke forcibly suppressed his shock and said to himself, yes, from the point of view of my Rinnegan's exclusive dojutsu, I should have the talent of space-time ninjutsu. Now it seems that at the moment of Deidara's self-explosion, he used Flying Thunder God Jutsu to escape with Naruto Niji, and then used Flying Thunder God Jutsu to teleport back. Without waiting for him to suppress the shock in his heart, his eyes widened again. Wait, how come even Naruto Niji? Not only Flying Thunder God Sasuke, but the other two were also strengthened into Sage Naruto and Hashimoto Niji. In the picture, Niji's body erupted with an incomparably powerful momentum, and Naruto and Sasuke stood on his left and right arms. Then Hashimoto Tonku Revolving Heaven. Under the buff of Hashimoto Tonku, Niji's Revolving Heaven speed was faster than any Hyuga clan member. When the rotation speed of Revolving Heaven reached its peak, Naruto and Sasuke were thrown out. Sage Mode, Otama Rasengan. Combination Ninjutsu, Chidori Fire Dragon. Under the tacit cooperation of the two completely different attack modes showed signs of fusion. Under the speed buff given by Niji, it was like an arrow of destruction shuttling through time and space. What a group of brats. Madara squinted his eyes. With his combat IQ, of course, he understood that the previous waves of attacks were actually to create opportunities for the self-explosion brat. If the self-detonation failed, they would take advantage of the moment when everyone was swallowed by the self-detonation, and the moment when he let his guard down to form a final wave of attacks. Unfortunately, Although their speed was already very fast, he still reacted in time. However, he was not prepared to dodge. In these two brats, he seemed to see the shadow of himself in Hashirama. If I grew up in the same village as Hashirama, I should be able to have such a tacit understanding. Thinking of this, Madara pulled out his katana from the scabbard, attached the repulsive force to the blade, and slashed at the arrow with an indomitable force. Boom! Endless amounts of energy gushed out. Storms wreaked havoc, and dazzling rays of light engulfed everything in the surroundings in an unstoppable manner. The surrounding space was like the waves of a raging sea, constantly rising and falling, giving people the illusion that it would collapse in the next moment. Even though there was a boundary separating them from reality and illusion, everyone still felt a sense of fear. They were worried that the illusion would shatter, and the devastating energy shockwaves would spread to the real world. Everyone was speechless. They couldn't imagine that such a battle was caused by a few 12 or 13-year-old kids. That's amazing. That's shocking. Even the great leader can't do that at this age. Even with Grandpa Bo's pride, he was convinced at this moment. I always thought that my dad was stronger than me only because of his age. When I'm his age, I'll definitely be stronger than him. I didn't expect that my father and uncle are already stronger than me now. It seems that I have to work hard too. Middle-aged Sasuke wanted to say. You think too much. I wasn't as good as you when I was your age. However, in order to retain his master's dignity, he nodded vaguely. It's good that you know how to work hard. When the storm subsided, Madara and Naruto had disappeared, leaving only Niji lying on the ground with a confused look. Am I the only one left? The outside world was silent for a moment, and then cheered fiercely. That's amazing. They defeated Uchiha Madara. Has the alliance become so strong? Cheers for the heroes who brought victory. Salute the leaders who brought change. Although Uchiha Madara wasn't in his prime, he was besieged by everyone, and he lost his mind in the final stage. He was still Uchiha Madara after all. Just this point alone was enough to make them jump for joy. Even Boruto was infected by this emotion and cheered loudly. Looking at the sea of cheers around him, middle-aged Sasuke couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Only one victory is enough to make the spirit of self-improvement and self-confidence deeply rooted in people's hearts. In terms of spirit chi and spirit, this space-time is much better than my world. At this moment, a gentle greeting came from the side. What do you think of the Jonin exam? Very good. Middle-aged Sasuke answered subconsciously, and then he was suddenly shocked. Someone quietly came to his side. Fortunately, he quickly reacted and shouted with surprise and joy. Garashi-sama. Hearing Sasuke's voice, Boruto turned his head curiously. Are you the great leader they are talking about? It's me, but I can't be called great, Garashi said with a smile. If even you, Garashi-sama, can't be called great, then no one in this world can be called great, middle-aged Sasuke said righteously. In the past, he only knew about Shushi's contributions to their world, but after chatting with the old man just now, he learned more about Shushi. As a result, his respect for Shushi grew even stronger. Boruto nodded again and again. Even with his lawless character, when encountering such a truly respectable hero, he didn't dare to be rude. Garashi shook his head slightly and looked around with a smile. The truly great people are here. It is these kind, simple, hard-working and brave people who support this world. People, middle-aged Sasuke muttered to himself, and then noticed the strangeness of the people around him. He saw that everyone was still cheering, and no one noticed the movement here at all, as if they were drifting away from the world. What are they doing? Garashi smiled and said, I overlapped the time and space where the three of us are in with the dream world, so they can't see us. Middle-aged Sasuke was shocked. He only knew one jutsu that could convert illusion and reality, and that was Izanagi. But Garashi-sama did something similar without any burden. Without waiting for him to finish sighing, Garashi took the initiative to ask, Sasuke, how did you come here? Chapter 534. Regarding this, Garashi was indeed puzzled. The Ryumayaku passage was under his control. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any transmigration. Moreover, the decadent middle-aged Sasuke in front of him was obviously the future version of Sasuke Uchiha in the parallel world. Could it be that because I maintain the connection between the two dimensions, and with me as a space-time variable, the parallel world can only go back to the time node where I'm at? If it goes back, it will be directed to the time and space where I'm at. His understanding of this was that two parallel rivers intersected because of a river channel. Then from this river channel, one only went upstream, and the other only went downstream. It was similar to the shape of the word swastika, without the upper right side. The middle-aged Sasuke did not notice Garashi's abnormality, and explained seriously. We went back to the past through the Otsutsuki clan's space-time relic called Plow, which was left in the deep sea. Due to the experience of World War IV, he was not worried that Garashi could not understand Otsutsuki's meaning. Space-time relic Plow? Garashi asked in surprise. Is it similar to the relic of Rakuto Sennin? Bodo took out a pink little turtle from his arms. It may be more magical because it's alive. Can I have a look? Garashi asked curiously. Of course. Bodo handed the turtle to Garashi. It's just that after we transmigrated, it fell into a deep sleep. Deep sleep? Garashi observed the turtle in his hand carefully. Suddenly, an extremely powerful chakra was released from his body. Like a traveler who had been thirsty in the desert for a few days, the little turtle hungrily absorbed the chakra around it. Soon, the little turtle's limbs regained their vitality. Space-time relic Plow. I'm happy to serve you. Bodo suddenly realized. So it's because there's no electricity. What an interesting creation. Garashi played with it for a while, and returned the little turtle. Can you tell me in which part of the deep sea it was found? Bo-run said in surprise. This was found by the archaeological team. We don't know where the archaeological team found it. The middle-aged Sasuke added. It seems that only the Otsutsuki clan can unlock its seal. Before Otsutsuki Ura-style unlocks its seal, we don't know its purpose, and we don't pay enough attention to its origin. Garashi pretended to be surprised and asked, the Great Mappu style? The middle-aged Sasuke said with a solemn expression. Otsutsuki appeared in our era again. Like the previous bordered soil Uchiha Madara, they once again targeted Naruto. It's just that their strength seems to be slightly inferior to Uchiha Madara. After we defeated two of them, the remaining Otsutsuki decided to go back to the time when Naruto was still weak to capture him. Garashi had a strange look in his eyes. You and Naruto's strength still maintain the level after the end of the Fourth World War? The middle-aged Sasuke smiled bitterly. Compared with the past, both of our strengths have regressed a lot, especially me. I may have inherited Kakashi Sensei's physical weakness. Now I can't use chakra with just a few ninjutsu. Garashi's mouth twitched. Could it be that Sakura was squeezing them? Thinking of some disharmony, Garashi quickly abandoned the distracting thoughts. Then how did they do it? Two of them were killed by you guys who had regressed in strength. He guessed that these later Otsutsuki might be a little weak, but he didn't expect them to be weak to this extent. Those were three pure-blooded Otsutsuki. In his limited knowledge, which one of the Otsutsuki wasn't powerful? Not to mention Kagaya and Ichiki, even the Rakuto brothers and Tonari, who had undergone atavistic transformation, were extremely powerful. Pinching the moon and cutting the moon was like playing a game. How could these three Otsutsuki be so weak? Could it be that something happened to the Otsutsuki clan, causing their overall strength to be weaker than before? Garashi's eyes narrowed slightly. If this was the case, then his idea of counterattacking the Otsutsuki clan might really be possible. So, the key at present is to capture Otsutsuki Urashi alive and get information about the Otsutsuki clan from him. The middle-aged Sasuke didn't know what Garashi was thinking and said awkwardly. Maybe they were careless? Boruto on the side was a little dissatisfied. Urashi should be very strong. He can freely switch between Byakugan and Rinnegan, master a powerful space ability, and it seems that even time ninjutsu is involved. Oh, time. Garashi was a little surprised. This is somewhat similar to Itachi's ability. Itachi? His ability isn't. The middle-aged Sasuke was shocked at first, and then immediately reacted. By the way, Sharingan is the eye of the soul. Since the process of opening the Sharingan is different, the awakened dojutsu will of course be different. Itachi, Uncle's brother? Boruto muttered in his heart, and then asked with some expectation. Garashi-sama, can you help us deal with Otsutsuki Urushi? Without waiting for the middle-aged Sasuke to reprimand him, Garashi laughed. Of course. I said at the beginning of the alliance that I will never let the people of the alliance be bullied by outsiders, even if he is Otsutsuki. Boruto's eyes were full of little stars. Garashi-sama is so cool. Saint inside and king outside. This is Garashi-sama's ninja path. The middle-aged Sasuke sighed in his heart, looked up and said, I'm sorry to trouble you, Garashi-sama. No, I want to thank you for sending me the real question of the third exam. Garashi smiled, using Otsutsuki as the exam question. The middle-aged Sasuke praised Garashi's courage in his heart, and then heard Garashi ask, Your left hand? The middle-aged Sasuke was a little embarrassed. Garashi-sama, after you left that year, Naruto and I had a fight because of differences in philosophy, and we both lost an arm in the end. You're really worrisome. Garashi shook his head and sighed. Give me your left hand, and I'll help you heal it. Help me heal it. By the way, you also know yin-yang release. The middle-aged Sasuke woke up from a dream, but immediately shook his head. This broken hand is my atonement, so that I can always remember the mistakes I made in the past. Listening to Uncle's words, Garashi-sama really has the ability to help people regenerate limbs. Boruto was overjoyed, but when he heard the last part, he hurriedly said, Make up for your mistakes. Isn't it better to atone for your sins by repairing your broken hand? Garashi laughed. See, you're not as sensible as the younger generation. Since we have to face a strong enemy, of course, we have to adjust our state to the best possible state. Or do you think that your hypocrisy is more important than the safety of the world? At this point, the middle-aged Sasuke could only smile bitterly and reach out his hand. Then I'll have to trouble Garashi-sama. With Garashi's current ability, even if he didn't use the power of the truth-seeking ball, he could use yin-yang release and easily repair Sasuke's broken hand. Chapter 535. It really grew out. Bodo shouted excitedly. The middle-aged Sasuke clenched his fist somewhat awkwardly and thanked. Thank you, Garashi-sama. You're welcome. Garashi patted him on the shoulder. I know you have a lot of regrets. Here, you can try to experience a different life and treat all of this as a beautiful dream. Forget your troubles for the time being before you wake up from the dream. A dream? The middle-aged Sasuke was absent-minded for a while. Seeing that Sasuke was confused, Garashi smiled and removed the overlap between the dream and reality. When the surrounding noise reached the two's ears again, Garashi had already disappeared. Staring at the place where Garashi disappeared, Bodo suddenly clapped his hands. I understand. As expected of Garashi-sama, the middle-aged Sasuke woke up from his absent-minded state. What did you understand? Bodo analyzed seriously. Since Garashi-sama can see through our whereabouts, maybe he has noticed the existence of the Otsutsuki from the beginning. That's why he deliberately set up these two tests. The written test is to interrogate one's heart. Through the last question, everyone will know that retreating won't solve the problem. It will only let the enemy see through their weakness and continue to devour them. The dream trial is to test their courage. At the same time, it will let them know that as long as everyone works together, no matter how powerful the enemy is, it is possible to defeat them. After they pass these two tests, they will no longer have to face the interrogation of words and the trial of dreams. Instead, they will have to face the real threat of death. They will turn the verbal and illusory tests into reality. The middle-aged Sasuke nodded in agreement and praised. As expected of Garashi-sama, when we jumped out of the limits of our vision, we found that he was already standing at the height of the 4th or 5th level. While the two of them were deeply impressed by Garashi's ability to look up high, drill through strong, look ahead, and suddenly be behind, Garashi had already teleported to the boundless sea. If I can study the time-space attribute noble phantasm thoroughly, I might be able to develop my time-type ability. Garashi thought to himself. It had to be said that the difficulty of developing time-related abilities was too high, even at his current height, coupled with the fact that his doppelganger and main body were constantly experiencing different flows of time. there was still a long way to go before he could fully comprehend the power of time. Of course, this was also because he had spent most of his time on developing the blood inheritance net. Garashi shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Let's start looking. Although it was like looking for a needle in a haystack, he had deliberately recorded the aura of the plow when he asked for it from the bow people. As long as he followed the aura, with his perception range, he should be able to search for a few days and nights without rest. 3 days later, in front of Minato's house, Naruto held a piece of bread in his mouth and waved behind him. Mom, I'm leaving. Shina Kushina, who was dressed like a housewife, was standing in front of the door. Be careful on the road. Got it, Bodo, who was standing not far away, muttered to himself. I heard that Grandpa in this world rarely went home before Dad was 7 years old. After becoming Naruto, he was very busy, but Dad has never been as troubled as I am. The middle-aged Sasuke nodded slightly. This is where Naruto is stronger than you. Whether it's the suffering of that world or the longing of this world, he has never been a person who complains. Never complains. Bodo recalled that because he lacked the company of his father, he often said that he hated being born in the Naruto family. He couldn't help but reflect. Maybe I'm too willful. If you look at it from Dad's point of view. At this time, Naruto noticed Bodo's existence and took the initiative to run towards his good friend, whom he had just met a few days ago. Bodo. Naruto trotted all the way and looked at the decadent middle-aged man standing beside Bodo, who seemed to be very close to him. He asked subconsciously, Bodo, is this uncle your father? Ahem. Bodo and the middle-aged Sasuke coughed wildly. What is this? Naruto took the initiative to wear a hat of a certain color? If Sakura knows. Thinking of a terrible possibility, the middle-aged Sasuke quickly explained, I'm Bodo's uncle. Oh, is that so? Naruto didn't think much and asked, Bodo, did you come here to watch me take the exam? Bodo nodded and gave him a thumbs up. Well, I believe you can definitely become a jounin. Although Dad, you've always been a genin in our world, Bodo said and secretly complained. Of course, I'm going to become Naruto's man. The two talked and laughed along the way. Suddenly, the alarm on the street went off. Oh no, did that guy appear? Both Bodo and the middle-aged Sasuke looked around nervously. Naruto glanced suspiciously at the place where the alarm came from, and the corner of his eyes twitched. I seem to know what's going on. Come with me. The three of them walked around a street. They saw a dozen Umbu ninjas forcing a man with snake eyes into a corner. Spreading obscene books and disturbing public order. Jiraiya-sama, please come with us. The man with snake eyes said discontentedly. First, I'm just here to buy experimental materials. I don't know anything about obscene books. Second, can't you see who I am? The leader of the Umbu ninjas sighed. Jiraiya-sama, can't you change the scourge to someone else? Orochimaru-sama has complained, and now there are fanatical fans writing letters to him. What? The man with snake eyes suddenly became anxious. Those letters are for me. Before his voice fell, Jiraiya saw everyone's smiling eyes and couldn't help but gnash his teeth. You dared to trick me. No, those letters are real. The Umbu ninja sighed again. I have to say, your fans are probably the most polite and sticky fans of your books. Jiraiya laughed proudly. Haha, good writing is like this. Everyone was speechless. As long as it's an obscene book, those LSPs are polite to anyone. Well, Jiraiya-sama, please come with us to the prison. With Skynet, I'm sure you won't make it difficult for us. Skynet is too unfree. Jiraiya first complained loudly, then raised his hand to surrender. You can arrest me, but you can't extinguish my fiery creative heart. When Jiraiya was caught in the police car, Orochi laughed twice. Is this the legendary hero Jiraiya-sama? Ha, haha, what a surprise. Middle-aged Sasuke wasn't surprised and just asked. Skynet, what's that? Naruto already knew from Orochi that they had just returned to civilized society, so he wasn't surprised. This is a network created by Leader Sama, with the Dream World as the cornerstone. It can monitor the entire alliance. Once something bad happens, the law enforcement department can even use the Dream World to instantly reach any node covered by the network. No wonder we were noticed by Garashi-sama. Middle-aged Sasuke suddenly realized. Orochi sighed. Amazing. No wonder the security of the alliance is so good. Naruto proudly puffed out his chest. Of course. Leader Sama's creation is of course amazing. I also heard that in the future, the places covered by the dream world can even save the process of paying money. The three talked and laughed all the way to the central tower. At the same time, Otsutsuki Urushi, who was hiding not far away, curled his lips. What rubbish, Skynet, I didn't see it discover me. However, this guy is really cautious. He's actually protecting you. Urushi rolled his eyes. This kid is going to fight in the ring, right? When he enters the ring, Uchiha Sasuke will definitely not be able to follow. That's the best time for me to make a move. Chapter 536. In front of the central tower, the crowd was crowded like a tide. For people who are a little dull in their daily life, this Jonin exam is undoubtedly the best tonic for them. Even those who are not interested in fighting gathered here at this moment, excitedly discussing with their companions who is most likely to win in the end. Fortunately, the central tower was rebuilt from the original forest of death. It's wide enough to accommodate hundreds of thousands of people after entering the spectator area. Will the third round of the exam be held in reality? I thought it would be like the last round of the exam, in the dream world. After all, virtual is virtual. No matter how real it is, it's not as exciting as fighting in reality. Besides, this time there are 10 elders watching the battle. Even if they are really angry, they can stop it in time. Are you sure? What if Deidara self-destructs? Ah, you're making me panic. In this noisy voice, Naruto and the other two entered the tower. It's so lively. There are so many people. Boruto looked around in shock. A grand arena that can accommodate hundreds of thousands of people at the same time. This is unimaginable in his world. Naruto said with pride. Humph. Since the leader shouted the slogan chakra goes to the countryside, ninjutsu prospers the country. The mountains and deserts have been transformed into farmland, which greatly meets people's material needs. That's why the leader Sama proposed that we can't fall behind in our spiritual pursuit. He specially built this grand arena to allow the various ninja villages to form combat teams and participate in the tournament. He even broadcast the tournament through the dream world, so that everyone can watch. Now the most popular people in the alliance, besides the leader, are those who have the most outstanding performance in the tournament. Last month, Tsuchikage and Reikage couldn't resist the temptation and fought. The middle-aged Sasuke was surprised. No wonder the fighting atmosphere in the alliance is so strong 5 years after the war ended. Boruto asked doubtfully. Won't they break their hands and feet or even die? Naruto said indifferently. With the leader here, even if they break their hands and feet, even if they die. At this moment, the middle-aged Sasuke's face suddenly changed. Aiden, how come that guy is here? Although Fei Duan was not strong, Sea of Death's ability to rely on blood was too strange. Furthermore, he was in the middle of a crowd, so he could not help but feel nervous. Naruto looked at where his eyes were focused and suddenly laughed. Oh, you're talking about the Repeater King. The middle-aged Sasuke's mouth twitched. What king did you say? Repeater King. Naruto was amazed. Big brother was in school when I was born, and he's still in school now. I heard that he was instilled with a lot of extreme thoughts by the evil cult when he was young. Although he was much better after being reformed, he never scored more than double digits in the Will of Fire before the establishment of the alliance, and the thought of a leader after the establishment of the alliance. That's why he was held back until now. Hearing this, the middle-aged Sasuke was dumbfounded. Looking at Haiden, who was sitting in the audience with a book in his hand, he couldn't help but feel that life was really wonderful. When the time came, the third Naruto Sarutobi, who is now the dean of the Ninja University, gave a long speech, and the game finally began. The first game, Chajuru against Kankuro, please get ready. Fortunately, the person fighting Uncle Chajuru isn't a genin. Borin whispered. Huh, what did you say? Naruto didn't hear him clearly. Haha, nothing, let's watch the game. After 8 rounds of battle. The 9th game, Uzumaki Naruto against Uchiha Sasuke. Please get ready. What? Me and Sasuke? Naruto's spirit was lifted. and his eyes instantly met Sasuke in another direction. Dad and Uncle, Borin muttered in a low voice. Then he cursed in his heart. This battle order is too unintelligent. Dad and Uncle are obviously the strongest among the candidates, yet they've already met in the first round. Soon, Sasuke and Naruto jumped out of the arena from the audience. I didn't expect the two of us to meet so soon, Naruto said excitedly. But even if it's you, I won't go easy. Go easy. Sasuke seemed to have heard something funny and laughed wildly. You don't even have time to refine Senjutsu chakra in the arena. What do you have to fight me? Naruto touched his nose embarrassedly. But I have a cheat. Sasuke's laughter stagnated, and he looked at Naruto in shock. You can use Kyuubi? Naruto smiled. Bijuu is originally a part of Jinchuriki. Just think of Kyuubi as my summon beast. Sasuke's little face was almost distorted. No matter how arrogant he was, he couldn't think that he was stronger than Naruto and Kyuubi. You're bullying me because I don't have Mangekyo. Thinking of the nightmare eye-opening technique that Sensei told him, he was a little tempted. Seeing this, Naruto smiled. I'll stop teasing you. In fact, I don't want to directly turn into a Bijuu, but I want Kurama to help me refine Senjutsu chakra. Are you kidding me? Sasuke's face became gloomier. Sorry. After all, it takes some time for Kurama to refine Senjutsu chakra, so I can only delay it, Naruto said and clapped his hands. Sage mode. A powerful aura burst out from Naruto's body. With Kyuubi's help to refine Senjutsu chakra, it meant that he could maintain Sage mode for a long time. Good. You usually look honest, but I didn't expect you to be so good at deceiving people. Sasuke was ashamed. He couldn't accept that he was deceived by Naruto. With that said, Sasuke's body flashed with lightning, and electric snakes swam. He entered Right-On chakra mode. Not only that, he also took out a large number of needles from the tool bag at his waist and shot them around. Then two tomo appeared in his pupils. Although he didn't experience any pain, Garashi has been using Mokuton and chakra to nourish his eyes. In a neutral and peaceful way, his eyes were upgraded to the level of 2 tomo. Right-On chakra mode activates the body, Flying Thunder God Jutsu time travel, and dynamic vision of Sharingan. These three can be said to be a perfect combination. The middle-aged Sasuke in the audience was surprised. This combination is too suitable for assassination. If he had this combination back then, even if Itachi didn't go easy on him, he was confident that he could defeat Itachi in that battle. What the hell? How can a 12 or 13-year-old kid be so strong? Pooh Sure, who was hiding in the dark, stared, wondering if he had entered hell mode. Bear with it for a while. I'll take them down when both sides are injured. Chapter 537. On the ring, Naruto didn't attack directly. Although he had Kurama addition, his stamina wasn't endless, and Sasuke had Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Naturally, he couldn't use chakra to crush his opponent like he usually did. You're really cautious. Seeing that Naruto didn't intend to take the initiative, Sasuke formed hand seals with both hands. Lightning blade in his left hand and flame blade in his right hand. Senjutsu, Otama Rasengan. Naruto raised his right hand high, and a small meteorite-like energy ball quickly formed in his hand. If Sasuke is a skill-based assassin, then he's a steamroll-style cannon. He didn't need any fancy skills, he just needed to attack. Seeing the two using big moves as soon as they entered the ring, the surrounding civilians and ordinary Chunin and Genin cheered at the top of their lungs. The crowd was also shocked. Although they already knew that these two weren't simple from the battle 3 days ago, it was still shocking to see them in real life. Are the new generation of ninjas already so strong? For a moment, they all felt abandoned by the era. On the ring, the two roared and rushed to each other. Naruto, Sasuke. However, just when they were about to hit each other, Sasuke suddenly disappeared. He used Flying Thunder God Jutsu to move to the closest needle to Naruto and stabbed Naruto's back. I've been waiting for you. Naruto quickly turned around and pressed down Otama Rasengan. Boom! A powerful shockwave wrapped in a gust of wind raged around, hitting the invisible barrier. The invisible barrier trembled lightly. In the eyes of everyone, it was as if the space was trembling, making everyone exclaim. The dust dissipated, and a huge pit appeared in the center of the two's battle. Naruto and Sasuke didn't stop for a moment, and they fought fiercely again. Katan, Grand Fire Annihilation. Senjutsu, Otama Rasengan. Right-un, Chidori Egi Spear. Senjutsu, Otama Rasengan. Ninjutsu, Lightning Fire Tornado. Senjutsu, Otama. No matter what kind of attack Sasuke used, Naruto almost always countered with Otama Rasengan, occasionally mixed with a few futon, Raisin Shuriken. If it was a regular exam, Sasuke, who mastered all kinds of gorgeous ninjutsu, and even those jutsu completion rate, would undoubtedly be the focus of the crowd. But the problem was this was an actual battle. Sasuke's gorgeous attack was suppressed by Naruto's simple and unadorned meatballs. This scene made many people speechless. Chikado is really amazing. However, Naruto was not relaxed ninjutsu. Ninjutsu, ninjutsu, jutsu jutsu jutsu, jutsu, ohat. Jutsus s jutsu. TST, T. TSS T's, T's fight. S's, T. If he had half of Naruto's chakra. No, as long as he had 1/5 of Naruto's chakra, there would be no suspense in this battle. Of course he regretted it, but he wasn't jealous. Just as his talent was in technique, Naruto's was chakra. Naruto, I only have one more chakra, but it'll be my strongest attack. Sasuke reminded. Don't worry, I won't underestimate you. Naruto was fully alert. At this moment, a red fishing line passed through the barrier and fell from the sky. It was a light line, but it pierced Naruto's body like an arrow. Puff! Naruto spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at Sasuke in shock and admiration. Amazing! I've been vigilant, but I still didn't see how you did it. That's because I haven't made my move yet. Sasuke looked around angrily. Who the hell is it? At first no one reacted. This is the Central Tower, the heart of the Alliance, where the strongest forces in the world gathered. Subconsciously, they didn't think anyone would dare to cause trouble here. Until Sasuke roared, they couldn't believe it. What? Someone dared to intervene in the Jonin exam and seriously injure the candidates? Who did it? Do they want to die? Not only do they want to die, maybe they'll be like Uchiha Madara, whose soul won't be reincarnated. A space portal appeared above the ring, and a strange man with a red fishing basket behind him walked out. Pusher pulled the fishing line and pulled Naruto to his side. Hee hee, I finally caught this big fish. Damn it. Sasuke was a step slower. He planned to use heavenly hand power to exchange Naruto and the others. But the problem is, it's too dangerous to exchange innocent people with Pusher. What if Pusher got angry and killed that person? Because of this, he was a step slower. Bodo pulled his clothes and said anxiously, Uncle, save my father. Seeing Naruto and Bodo sitting together, Hinata, who was quietly sitting 2 rows behind them, heard this voice and felt like she was struck by lightning. Hinata was in a trance. Dad, Naruto-kun has a son? Seeing the critical situation, Sasuke didn't care so much and had to find the thickest person in his impression to exchange. The next moment Raikage, who was angrily slamming the table, was hung on the red fishing hook, looking at Pusher in front of him with a dumbfounded expression. Ha! I also awakened the space ability. Pusher didn't care about Raikage, he just looked at the middle-aged Sasuke in the crowd with a grin. A fisherman won't fail twice in the same river. You'd better look at who you exchanged with. Sasuke subconsciously looked at Naruto, who was on the judging panel, and then saw Naruto, who was transferred by him, turned into a red light. Pusher laughed loudly. You should dig out your eyes as soon as possible. You can't even see my 1,000-paper crane clone. Damn it! Sasuke cursed unwillingly. Uncle, do it again. Bodo egged him on. Okay, Sasuke said with a painful cry, covering his left eye, and gasping violently. No, I'm at my limit, and chakra is also used up. Bodo's eyes were blank. The younger version of his uncle used so many ninjutsu, but he was only about to run out of chakra. Uncle, how come you don't have chakra after using dojutsu once? Noticing the middle-aged Sasuke's strangeness, Pusher laughed. You're really getting weaker and weaker. Do you need me to lend you some chakra? You. Sasuke was angry and suddenly laughed. You don't seem to be any better than me. You didn't even notice that the fish ran away. What? Pusher was shocked and hurriedly turned his head to look and found that Naruto was gone. Damn it, who is it? Sasuke stood on the judging panel and waved his hand. Here. It's you. Pusher looked over and asked in surprise. How is it possible? I clearly cleared the needles around you. You shouldn't be able to use Flying Thunder God. Sasuke's face darkened. That's because I left a jutsu on Naruto's body. Pusher asked in disbelief. You left a jutsu on him? Then why didn't you use it during the battle? Of course, it's because I planned to save it for the last blow. This trick won't work if you're on guard. Sasuke scolded angrily. And you idiot exposed me. Neji in the audience was stunned. I thought Naruto was very insidious. It turns out that Sasuke is even more insidious. Wait, he didn't secretly leave a jutsu on me, did he? Thinking of this, Neji quickly touched himself. Chapter 538. At this time, many people noticed the conversation between Pusher and Sasuke. Did this guy exchange Reikage-sama? Do they know each other? These two guys don't look simple, but why haven't I seen them before? Reikage also understood the fact from the conversation between the two. That is, he didn't awaken the space ability, but he was swapped by the decadent man's space ability. Thinking of this, he was about to explode. Uzumaki Naruto is Naruto's son. Why didn't you exchange Namikaze Minato for me? The most important thing is, he was hung on the hook in such a humiliating position for people to admire. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Reikage directly pulled the red light hook out of his body, lifted his sandbag-sized fist, and waved it at Pusher. Bastard die! Seeing Reikage's angry fist, Pusher remembered the last Reikage's level, and couldn't help but contemptuously raise his right hand. Come on, you're weak. Before he finished his words, he flew out like a cannonball, slamming heavily on the wall, making the entire arena tremble slightly. Seeing this, everyone in the spectator seats had a strange expression on their faces. Daring to destroy the Jonin exam in public, and this is the result. Using his body to take Reikage-sama's attack. How stupid is he? It seems that it's not a conspiracy, he's just stupid. The Bo people in the audience were very surprised. Was it an illusion? Why does it feel like the fourth Reikage is much stronger than the fifth Reikage? Sasuke's pupils shrank. In terms of time, it should be 3 years before the 5 Kage tournament. But the power of this punch is definitely stronger than the one Reikage used at that time. But soon he figured it out. After all, this world has Garashi-sama. Even I can be strengthened like this. So it's understandable that Reikage is strengthened too. Pusher jumped out of the hole in the wall, and his face was a little embarrassed. Humph. I deliberately let you hit me. And the result is like this, it doesn't hurt at all. Seeing this, many people's expressions became serious. He took Reikage's heavy punch without any defense, but he didn't seem to be injured, not to mention his strength. Just his physical strength is amazing. It doesn't hurt or itch, right? Reikage's eyes widened in anger as he raised his fist and rushed forward. However, Pusher easily dodged his attack this time, and then sent Reikage flying with the Shinra Tensei. Shinra Tensei. This ability made many people stand up from their seats in shock. Reikage jumped down from the wall, and was ready to rush up again. Reikage, please wait a moment. Minato stood up from the judge's table, looked at Pusher with a solemn expression, and asked, Who are you? Why can you use the Rinnegan when you have the Byakugan? At this time, everyone also noticed the pure white pupils of the other party, which is the characteristic of the Hyuga clan. Many old people even thought of the 5 Kages summit 9 years ago. At that time, the people who had helped Akatsuki to stop their leader had also rolled their eyes. Rinnegan, are you talking about this? Pusher smiled and switched his Byakugan to blue Rinnegan. Can the Byakugan also evolve into Rinnegan? Everyone was puzzled. They remembered that Uchiha Madara seemed to be able to freely switch between Rinnegan and Sharingan. At that time, they thought that the principle of switching between Sharingan and Manjikyu Sharingan was the same. Without waiting for everyone to ask, Pusher continued. As for my identity, I am a man from the sky, who came to this world to pick the fruit. A man from the sky? The moon? Minato frowned and asked. A frog at the bottom of the well can't see the sea. Pusher sneered. With your knowledge, you can only say such things. Listen, I come from the distant star Jupiter, and the land under your feet is the ranch where my clan used to graze. When his voice fell, the entire arena was in an uproar. This guy means that he is an alien? He looks really strange. Ranch. I hope it's not what I think it is. Because this era seemed to be a little different from what he expected. Pusher wasn't in a hurry to start again. He put the red light fishing rod on his shoulder and said, "It was Otsutsuki who brought chakra to this world. And the ancestors of ninjas and the gods of creation in your mythical records are actually people of my clan. But they betrayed Otsutsuki and turned this world from a ranch to what it is today. By the way, the tailed beasts you were afraid of are actually part of a monster called the Jubi. And the Jubi is just a pet of my clan. Except for a small number of people who were afraid, most people were skeptical. What he said was too bizarre and preposterous." Minato looked dignified, and suddenly a voice sounded in his heart. He quickly stretched his eyebrows and stood up and said, "He is right. Otsutsuki is such a powerful clan. Even the Senju clan, Uchiha clan, and Hyuga clan are descendants who inherited their bloodline." The other 4 Kages looked at him with some surprise, and seemed to think of something, but didn't speak. Hearing Naruto's confirmation, the whole arena was boiling like a pot of boiling soup. What? There really is such a powerful clan? Senju, Uchiha, Hyuga. These are already the strongest clans in the ninja world, right? No wonder Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara were so powerful. Chakra is actually the power they brought. This is really... Pusher looked at Minato with a little surprise, and then smiled. "My strength is already stronger than all of you, and there are hundreds of people like me in my clan." Reikage couldn't help but mock. "You are stronger than all of us?" Pusher chuckled. "Oh, don't think that what I just showed is my true strength. Every real Otsutsuki is a natural god. And mortals like you may not be able to reach our starting point even if you work hard all your life. Let me tell you, if I go all out, I can sink 1/3 of the continent in less than an hour. Those who understand the meaning of Otsutsuki should know that I am not lying." Hearing this, people panicked again. Destroy the world? Is he still a human? No wonder he calls himself a god. This kind of power is really terrible. However, the 5 Kages on the judges' table secretly muttered, "Sinking 1/3 of the continent in less than an hour. It seems like it's just so." They privately asked Garashi about his true strength, and the answer they got was, he can no longer use his full strength on this land. Chapter 539. However, their silent expressions made Pusher think that they were afraid. Pusher laughed out loud. "Now you should be able to understand a little bit of our gap," Minato asked in a deep voice. "In that case, why would a Protoss like you want to catch Naruto?" Pusher shrugged. "Didn't you hear me? The 9 Bijou are part of the Jubi. Although the Jubi is just a pet for us, it's not something you mortals can touch. Now can you please step aside? Give him to me, and you can avoid the outbreak of war." For a while, everyone's eyes were focused on Naruto. For many people, sending out a single person in exchange for the peace of a war, it was really worth it. However, Naruto was Naruto's son after all, and this practice was contrary to mainstream public opinion. So no one spoke for the time being. Seeing the scene suddenly fall into a strange silence, Pusher looked at Naruto with a smile. "At this time, shouldn't you take the initiative to stand up and die? It's too selfish to put the whole world in danger for yourself." As his voice fell, Naruto suddenly felt the pressure on his back suddenly increased many times, as if every gaze looking at him was full of malice. Although those people didn't dare to make their voices loud, they still had the courage to stir up resonance by whispering. Although it's a bit too much, it's better for one person to die than a group of people to die, right? Yes, isn't the duty of a ninja to sacrifice himself? Boruto was furious. "These people are too hateful, I want to." The middle-aged Sasuke held him down. "Wait, don't ruin Garashi-sama's exam." "Exam, huh? Uncle, you mean Garashi? Sama is paying attention to this place?" Pusher, that idiot, was probably noticed by Garashi-sama as soon as he stepped into the alliance. Then why didn't Garashi-sama come out? Boruto was puzzled. I guess it should be that Garashi Sama wants to use Pushur to awaken everyone's sense of crisis. The middle-aged Sasuke said. Naruto clenched his fists. Aye. Without waiting for Naruto to finish, Sasuke took a few steps forward. He didn't look at Urashi, but coldly glanced at the place where the sound came from. A group of cowards, trash. The more guilty a person was, the easier it was for them to be angered by such simple words. Many people immediately cursed out loud. Uchiha brat, what did you say? You said that because he's your friend, right? Sasuke said disdainfully. Am I wrong? He doesn't dare to swing his sword at the enemy, and instead sends his own comrades to their deaths. This kind of person is the worst kind of trash. You're speaking so generously now, but it's only because you don't feel the pain. But think about it, if he can kill Naruto today, he can kill you tomorrow. At that time, do you think anyone will stand up for you? I don't ask you cowards to stand up, but at least shut your mouths when we protect the alliance. Sasuke felt refreshed. He looked back and saw Naruto's eyes flashing with light. He quickly turned his head. Also, no matter who he calls to die, my answer is the same. It has nothing to do with the identity of the person he calls. After Sasuke stood up, many of the new generation of ninjas also stood up one after another. Yes, ninjas are no longer the tools that can be sacrificed at will. We are also people and soldiers who defend the alliance. Don't you feel ashamed to let the people who protect you die? Neji felt the same way. His father was almost sacrificed as a tool back then. It was only because Sama stood up that he was spared. Jinchuriki, as a container to seal the bijou, suffered pain and pressure that shouldn't be there in order to protect you. What about you? You're repaying him with discarded victims? Gaara said with a frosty expression. Well said, these guys are simply defective products. Compared with our works of art, it's simply disgusting. Deidara said. We should use artistic means to humanely destroy them. That's not necessary. More and more people stood up, and the voices at the beginning gradually died down, and finally became inaudible. Naruto was moved. He seemed to have found his life's goal. To protect everyone and fight to change the unreasonable world. The 5 Kages above were also emotional. Inoki sighed. Those traditional decadent ideas will eventually be replaced by new ideas full of vitality. Raza exclaimed, fools resist the world, smart people adapt to the world, and great people change the world. Empress Shomiai looked at him strangely. The Kazekage's flattery skill has improved again. It has reached the point of silently moistening things. But he's right. This is the future of this world. Middle-aged Sasuke sighed and patted Bodo's shoulder. Come on, it's time to end this controversy. Bodo stood up excitedly and said loudly, don't you think about why he wants Dad cough Naruto's chakra? Why does he say this is a ranch? The reason is that he wants to use the fused Jubi to swallow the entire world's chakra. At that time, everyone will die. What? Is what he said true? Everyone looked at Pushur in shock and anger. With Otsutsuki's arrogance, Pushur naturally disdained to lie to them. Hiding part of the truth like before was already his limit. Ichiki-senpai really messed up this world. Isn't it better to kneel and beg us to eat you like in other worlds? Everyone was silent for a moment, and anger erupted like a volcano. Bastard! Who wants to be eaten by monsters like you? Don't even think about leaving here today. Seeing this, many candidates recalled the last question of the first exam, and they couldn't help but feel surprised. Sure enough, peace can only be won by fighting. As expected of Leader Sama, he foresaw such a thing happening early on. Then next is the verification of the second exam, right? As long as we work together, there is no enemy we can't defeat. Seeing the excitement of the crowd, Pushur smiled and said, so, ignorance is a kind of happiness. You fight with all your strength, but in the end, you can only be eaten by Jubi and despair. It's better to not know anything from the beginning, and wait for the joy of being eaten by Jubi. Minato said firmly, we will never lose. Behind us are our beloved family, our home, and a civilization that has lasted for thousands of years. We will let you know that a mortal's body can also kill the gods in the sky. A mortal's body can kill gods? Pushur laughed. Let's go with your ignorant fantasy. What about after defeating me? I have hundreds of clansmen behind me, and each of them rules a world. Do you want to fight with us who rule hundreds of worlds with the heritage of a single world? A mantis trying to stop a chariot, overestimating yourself. Chapter 540. Pooh Shi's words were like a dark cloud pressing down on everyone's hearts. If what he said was true, then how could they fight such a powerful enemy? Was there any meaning to a hopeless future? For a moment, confusion and fear shrouded everyone's heart. But at this moment, a firm and steady voice resounded through the sky. Don't worry, I'm here. Hearing this voice, everyone cheered up, as if they had found their backbone and instantly found their direction. It's the leader. Yes, there's still the leader. The leader has never let us down. We don't need to think so much at all. We just need to believe in the leader and follow behind him. Pooh Shi's frivolous expression became dignified for the first time. He just stood up and said a few words casually, without even making any guarantees. And these humans were no longer confused and hesitant. This kind of powerful leadership and cohesion was really shocking. In the records of the Otsutsuki family, this kind of person was called a prophet, a hero, a liberator. But no matter what kind of record it came from, the evaluation of this kind of person in the family was to be eradicated immediately. This was because the existence of this kind of person would awaken the spirit of a race. Many colonial planets under their rule had suffered heavy losses because of ignoring these people. Indeed, as they hoped, Garashi said, I've known about the threat of the Otsutsuki for a long time. And what I want to tell you now is that you don't have to worry at all. The Otsutsuki are powerful, but their strength has long been solidified, and we are rising like a new star. Compared to 5 years ago, the overall strength of the alliance has more than doubled. When the next 5-year plan is completed, there will be another round of leaps and bounds in our strength. When our strength increases again and again, the one who should be afraid should be the Otsutsuki. No matter what happens, you just need to advance and retreat with me, and we will be invincible in front of us. Hearing Garashi's words, everyone felt their blood boiling, and all kinds of unknown howls came from their mouths. Some people even beat their chests, as if this was the only way to vent their inner excitement. As expected of Garashi, a few words dispelled the fear in everyone's hearts, and even turned this fear into motivation. Minato praised in his heart. He thought of the telepathic message that Garashi had given him before. It's better to let it out than to block it. The more you hide it, the more everyone will be afraid. It's better to put everything on the table and use absolute momentum to overcome fear. No wonder he became the world's #1 more than 10 years ago. But he never stopped moving forward. Is it because he's carrying such heavy pressure? Reikage looked at Shushi's back with burning eyes. No wonder he's my opponent. Too cool, Lord Garashi is really too cool. Borin excitedly punched the air in front of him to vent the excitement in his heart. I'm going to copy down Lord Garashi's words for Dad to see. I'll show him what it means to be imposing. The middle-aged Sasuke nodded thoughtfully. I couldn't ignite it in our time and space, because I lack something that could make people's blood boil. Pooh Shi's eyes became colder and colder as he walked towards Garashi step by step. What a dangerous person. I smell turmoil and resistance on you. You're the only one I can't let go. Noticing Pooh Shi's action, Naruto quickly stood up. If you want to challenge the leader, you have to pass through me first. Pooh Shi sneered. You want to stop me? Then count me in. Sasuke stood up. And us. Gaara, Deidara, and others also stood up. Although they knew that they were not the opponent of the other party, they still stood up without hesitation. They didn't know Garashi's true strength. They just wanted to test the other party's means to increase their chances of winning. Garashi didn't stop them. Instead, he said with a smile, Go and fight. Don't worry about your back. I'm your strongest support. With Garashi's words, everyone felt more secure. After all, the leader is the world's strongest medical ninja. Thinking of this, everyone was filled with pride. Let's let this bastard know who's the master of this world. Capture Otsutsuki alive and raise him. All kinds of powerful and gorgeous ninjutsu converged into a torrent and rushed towards Pooh Shi. Trying to use Chakra's power to deal with Otsutsuki, what a joke. Pooh Shi snorted. While using his ability to absorb chakra, he used Shinra Tensei to blast them away. Shinra Tensei's repulsive force wasn't soft. Only Reikich's physique could withstand it. For these candidates, the moment they were blasted away by the repulsive force, they vomited blood. However, a light drizzle began to fall from the sky. Those dispirited examinees who had been sent flying quickly pulled themselves together, and once again charged forward dauntlessly, wave after wave of them charging forward. What? This healing ability? Pusher was shocked. Recovering faster than being injured. How can he fight? Before he could respond, everyone found his weakness one after another. When he absorbs ninjutsu, he has to use the fishing rod to avoid the attack range of the fishing rod. You can also use taijutsu or hidden weapons. He can't absorb these attacks. Pusher was angry. You bastards are pissing me off, Shinra. However, the candidates were contacted by Garashi with the soul lock and told the basic abilities of the Rinnegan, and they were uniformly deployed in the group. Seeing that Pusher was going to use Shinra Tensei, everyone quickly entered a defensive posture. Various earth and water walls were erected in front of them. After the impact of Shinra Tensei, someone said in the group constructed by Garashi, the enemy's skills are in the cooldown stage. Everyone attack together, but don't be greedy. After a round of attack, quickly enter a defensive state. Just like in the game in the dream world, they quickly defend it after touching the boss. Don't ask for merit, just ask for no mistakes. Pusher was almost vomiting blood because of their rogue fighting style. Isn't this shameless? In desperation, he could only use the 1,000-paper crane to escape. Seeing their enemies being forced to flee in all directions, the ninjas in the audience could no longer hold back. First, they were ignited by the passion of the new generation of ninjas. Coupled with the fact that they had the support of their leader, they roared and rushed down the ring, recklessly attacking Urashishi. Crazy. They're all crazy. Looking at the humans who were as weak as ants, but the fanaticism in their eyes couldn't wait to devour him. Pusher felt fear for the first time. He really understood why the clan listed that kind of people as a must-kill target. Haha, let's go too. Reikage laughed and rushed up. Isn't it a bit bad to bully people like this? Oh, I forgot that this guy isn't human. Anoki followed with a smile. Uncle, let's go too. Boron was so excited that his face was red. Okay, let's go together. The middle-aged Sasuke said inside. No, my chakra hasn't recovered yet. Boron Sigma degree. Chapter 541. The passion of the entire arena was detonated, like a pot of boiling soup, almost igniting the atmosphere. Capture Otsutsuki alive. Capture him as a slave. The scattered paper cranes gathered together, and Pusher's figure appeared in the sky, no longer as calm as before. He looked fiercely at the people below and said, Don't think that you can defeat me by relying on numbers. No matter how many ants there are, they will not pose any threat to the eagle soaring in the sky. Next, I won't let you hit me again. However, everyone scoffed at his words. Won't let us hit you again? What are you talking about? We have so many people here. We can hit you no matter what. Pusher returned to normal and calmly fell from the sky. In front of my eyes that can see through the future, any attack is futile. Is this the exclusive ability of Rinnegan? Some people who knew the horror of Madara's tomb of reincarnation were shocked. Is this guy going to show his ability? Pusher did not use Shinra Tensei this time, but calmly used the fishing rod in his hand to fight the enemy, and he moved in a small space with light steps to dodge. Unexpectedly, he seemed to be able to see through everyone's attacks. Every time, he was able to dodge them at the right time, while the people who were attacking him were sent flying again and again. How is it possible? How did this guy do it? He obviously doesn't look like a strong taijutsu. Why does he have such a strong physical instinct? Hearing the puzzled voice of the people, Pusher kindly explained, Because this is the most favorable future for me. I chose from dozens of futures. Even Garashi's pupil shrank slightly. Choose the most favorable future for yourself? The rest of the people couldn't believe it, and there was an uproar. His dojutsu is future prediction? Can this kind of thing be done? Future prediction? Pusher smiled and shook his head slightly. To be precise, I turned back time a few seconds ago, and I know exactly what each of you will do next. Many people were scared, and he could go back in time. Isn't this more terrible than future prediction? Pusher laughed loudly. Now you understand the gap between us? In front of these eyes, none of you stand a chance. In this silent atmosphere, an ordinary man stood up. Then let's make the future more unpredictable, so that he can't experience so many futures. Those who joined the battle before were all Chunin and Jonin, but Genin and ordinary people still stayed on top, and many people recognized his identity. Isn't this the boss of Yao Ramen Uncle Han beat? What do you mean by that? Han shouted loudly. We are weak, but our strength is not weak. As long as we throw a few stones at the edge of the battle, we can be considered to have participated in the battle, and we may have another future. If he can choose the trend that is most beneficial to him from the future of thousands of people, then what about the future of tens of thousands of people? Numbers are our most powerful weapon. Hearing this, the people in the audience seats were also excited. Compared with Jonin and Chunin, the majority of the population is always ordinary people and Genin. They weren't good at fighting, but they were definitely good at using numbers to lower Pooh's winning rate. Pusher's expression finally changed. If they did as the ordinary human said, the amount of time backtracking would undoubtedly increase greatly. What's more terrifying is that these people may go out and increase the number of people to 1 million. At that time, he may not be able to find the most beneficial future for himself, and he will be tired to death. Thinking of this, Pooh quickly made a decision in his heart. Kill some of the ordinary people, so that they don't even have the courage to approach the edge of the battlefield. Yomi no Miyazaka. Pooh opened the space door, broke free from the crowd, and instantly appeared above the ordinary people. Go to hell! However, before he could do anything, his eyes blurred, and he appeared in front of Minato. In the eyes of others, Pooh and Reikage suddenly exchanged positions. Reikage appeared in the sky, and was pulled down by gravity. His face was dark. Damn it again? Heavenly hand power. Bodo excitedly clenched his fist. I know, Uncle, you deliberately pretended to be weak for Pooh. I'm right? He turned his head excitedly, and then saw the middle-aged Sasuke sitting on the ground powerlessly, and his whole body collapsed. Bodo. On the other side, although there was no prior communication, Minato's reaction was still instantaneous. He rushed forward and touched many places on Pusher's body. Even Reikage's attack didn't cause any real damage to the enemy. Minato naturally didn't intend to take the opportunity to attack, but seized the opportunity to leave his exclusive mark on Pusher's body. Pusher was aroused by Minato's action, and subconsciously used Shinra Tensei to bounce him out. You're crazy, Pusher cursed, and then hurriedly continued with his previous plan. But as soon as he teleported through Yomi no Miyazaka, Minato instantly appeared beside him and took him away. Flying Thunder God Jetsu. Pusher suddenly understood that this bastard wasn't taking advantage of him, but leaving the Flying Thunder God Jetsu on him. Bastard. Pusher secretly cursed Minato's cunning. If it was just a Jetsu, he could directly cut off that part of the skin, or cut off the hands and feet. But the problem is, Minato touched him from head to toe. He can't cut off his whole body, can he? It seems that I can only act when he can't react. A mortal without a Kekkei Genkai. How fast can his nerve reaction be? Pusher launched Shinra Tensei, and then teleported to the crowd at the fastest speed. But before he could start moving, he was brought back by Minato. Damn it, how can this guy react so fast? Pusher did not believe it and continued to try, but every time he teleported over, he would be teleported back by the water gate. After repeating this a few times, he finally went crazy. So annoying. I'm going to kill you first. However, Minato didn't fight with him at all. Minato also mastered the ability of space, and even played it more smoothly than him. Pusher couldn't do anything to Minato. Then the situation became the same as it was at the beginning. Pusher was chased by nearly 10,000 Chunin and Jonin. He wanted to use time to backtrack, but because there were too many variables in the future, he couldn't see through the future. Unable to bear it, Pusher completely broke out. You bunch of lowly creatures. How dare you force me to this point? Unforgivable, absolutely unforgivable. It was as if he had completely darkened. After venting his anger, Pusher laughed strangely like a maniac and ate the red light fish basket hanging behind his waist. Not enough, still not enough. With that, he dug out his eyes and put them in his mouth and chewed. The next moment, a crack appeared in his eyebrows, and a golden rinnegan opened. Chapter 542. Everyone stared dumbfoundedly at the unforeseen event that happened to Pusher. They were greatly shocked. He ate the fish basket, and he also ate his own eyes. A golden eye grew on the forehead. What is the body structure of these aliens? This was not over. A light door appeared in front of Pusher, and in everyone's surprised eyes, Pusher walked in with a ferocious face. When he came out from the other side of the light door, his body shape completely changed. His face was full of dark stripes, his hands turned into wings, and his feet grew claws. Even the black holes that were bleeding before were replaced with a pair of golden eyes at this moment. He looked like a human-shaped crane. This guy turned into a bird. What a strange transformation. Hearing the crowd's discussion, Pusher, who was flapping his wings in the air, opened his mouth and spat out a series of blocked words, which made the crowd below dumbfounded. After that, Pusher grinned and said, "Bastards, it's time for your funeral." After that, he picked the person he disliked the most from the crowd and flew towards him. Raikage was not angry but happy. Good. After turning the power of the lightning release chakra mode to the maximum, Raikage met the attack with a karate chop. Raikage! The karate chop and the claws collided fiercely, and after a moment of stalemate, Raikage's whole body was hit upside down, and a burst of blood mist burst out of his body. Seeing this scene, almost everyone couldn't believe their eyes. Raikage was hit before because Pusher used the power of the rinnegan. In terms of pure physical strength, he was obviously not as good as Raikage. But this time, he defeated Raikage with an absolute advantage, and even seriously injured him. The effect of this transformation was too obvious. Raikage was quickly revived after being drenched in the rain, and his eyes were full of fear when he looked at Pusher. You must avoid this guy's attack. If you are caught by him, you will die. Everyone's face was dignified. They didn't have a strong body like Raikage. If their body was torn apart, even if they were drenched in the rain, they couldn't recover. Pusher laughed wildly. Ha ha ha, next is the eagle catching the chick puff. Before his voice fell, Minato teleported behind him and sent him flying with a Rasengan. Sure enough, after eating the previous rinnegan, he can no longer use the ability to go back in time. Moreover, his personality has also become more violent, and his alertness has decreased by a lot. Minato analyzed. Hearing Minato's analysis, everyone was overjoyed. It seemed that this transformation had a huge flaw, but before they could rejoice for a moment, they heard Minato continue. But correspondingly, his strength, speed, defense, and even vitality have all been strengthened to an extremely terrifying level. As if to confirm his words, Pusher stood up from the ground, and the place where he was hit by the Rasengan didn't even have a trace. Are you tickling me? You're really weak, so weak that even living is a sin. Pusher grinned maliciously. His legs heavily stomped on the ground, and like a cannonball, he shot towards Minato. So fast. Minato's pupils suddenly shrank. He almost instinctively used Flying Thunder God to dodge the attack. However, just as he teleported to the other side of the arena, he heard Pusher's voice. Aren't you very fast? Hurry up. Without much time to think, Minato continued to teleport with Flying Thunder God, and Pusher was like a maggot attached to the bone, following closely behind him. Seeing Minato's critical situation, Naruto, with Leaf, and the others hurriedly rushed up. Dad. Naruto-sama. The rest of the villagers also woke up from a dream. Use Skynet's authority to limit his speed. Set up a barrier and trap him. After everyone took action, Pusher suddenly fell into a quagmire, and his speed instantly slowed down. Annoying insects, get out of my way! Pusher roared, releasing an extremely powerful pressure from the golden rinnegan. This pressure not only suppressed everyone's spirit, but also made ordinary people and genin with relatively weak willpower faint. But it also materialized, radiating a blade-shaped shock wave to the surrounding. Everyone was caught off guard, and the shock wave hit them black and blue all over. Seeing their miserable state, Pusher's tyrannical intent became more and more intense. Haha, die all of you. Amaterasu Boryu's star life, Jade Box. Pusher flew into the air and crazily shot purple energy balls around. There weren't many people who had the ability to block these energy balls, and those people were stunned for a moment because of the pressure. By the time they reacted, the entire arena had been turned into ruins. Under Pusher's wanton slaughter, a large number of people turned into ashes. Bastard, bastard, bastard. Naruto's eyes almost popped out, and he directly transformed into Cubiform, opened his mouth, and shot a Baijidama. Pusher easily dodged and madly provoked him. Little fox, are you angry? Don't worry, it'll be your turn later. Behind him, Inoki raised his hands in pain and anger. In the previous wave of attack, his granddaughter Koratsuchi was also sacrificed. Thinking of this, Inoki angrily used his strongest dust release, detachment jutsu. The light beam swept across the sky, but in the end, it was swallowed by Pusher. Here you go. Pusher grinned and returned the dust release. In the next moment, the Tsuchikage was swallowed by his own attack, and not even his corpse was left. At this moment, the wave-like sand suddenly swept into the sky, binding Pusher tightly. Sand burial. Before Gaara could be happy, he saw Pusher break free from the shackles and rushed down like an arrow. Then he pierced his father in front of him. Gaara was stunned. Why? Raza coughed up blood. I'm sorry to let you bear so much pressure in the future. Seeing the Tsuchikage and Kazekage die one after another, everyone cried in pain. Damn, the Kazekage and Tsuchikage are both dead. How could this be? For a moment they were desperate. Pusher laughed. I didn't say anything wrong, right? The more you resist, the more desperate you are. At this time, Garashi suddenly said, You seem to have forgotten whose place this is. Pusher stared blankly for a moment before he burst into laughter. I almost forgot about you. But don't you think it's too late to stand up now? Yes, it's too late. Many people complained in their hearts, complaining about why the leader didn't stand up earlier. But because of Garashi's majesty in the past, they didn't dare to say it out loud. Garashi shook his head slightly. Only those who can't hold on to time will think it's too late. Pusher had an ominous premonition in his heart. What do you mean? Garashi took a deep breath and formed a seal with both hands, letting the dragon vein chakra in his body respond to the surrounding time and space. Reverse reincarnation. Everyone felt as if they were sitting on a fast-moving train, and the surrounding scenery quickly went back. When they came back to their senses, everything around them was restored to its original state. Not only did the dead come back to life, but even the ruined arena was restored to its original state. Chapter 543. In the arena, the crowd looked around in confusion. Their memories were still stuck at the moment before they died. Shouldn't I be dead? Inoki was confused. Could it be that I'm strong enough to use dust release with my physical body? I definitely died just now, Raza said to himself. Did the Chancellor bring me back to life? Unlike in the parallel world, without the miracle of Nagato reviving all the Woodleaf dead, everyone's ability to accept resurrection was relatively low. As for the others, their memories were retained by Garashi, so they didn't go back with their bodies. Because of this, they were more shocked than those who were resurrected. What kind of power is this to turn back time? This is the domain of the gods. Compared to that egomaniac who calls himself a god, the leader is a real god. Time reversal. And it's even stronger than my Rinnegan. How is this possible? Pusher was also shocked. The ability to control time was rare and precious, even in the Otsutsuki clan. But Raza didn't use dojutsu and developed it himself. Moreover, I can only reverse time by 7 to 10 seconds at most, but he can reverse time by at least 1 minute. Compared to the shock of the others, Garashi was very calm. After he succeeded in finding the plow in the sea, He combined his understanding of time and space with the inspiration given by the plow to develop this technique. He also used this battle as an experiment. Sure enough, this technique is the same as Izanagi's time reversal. It can't reset my chakra, Garashi thought. Although unlimited chakra couldn't work, the 80 gates wasn't a fantasy. The only regret was that this technique could only be used when he recovered Aizen's clone. With the strength of a single body, it would be difficult to use such a powerful technique. After thinking for a while, Garashi walked towards Pusher step by step under the fanatical gaze of the crowd. Do you have anything else to say? I'm not afraid of you. I'm a god, an intermediate warrior of the Otsutsuki clan. Pusher's face was ferocious as he tried to hide the fear in his heart. He was indeed afraid. Raza's powerful ability made him feel a trace of fear that he hadn't felt in a long time. Garashi stopped talking and walked step by step, as if he was stepping on Pusher's beating heart. At last, Pusher could no longer bear the torment. A powerful aura erupted from his body, and he recklessly rushed toward Shushi. Go to hell. Facing Pusher's full-strength attack, Garashi didn't have the time to think. Did he just say intermediate warrior? Which one is advanced warrior? At that time, he didn't recover, and he gave me more pressure than Pusher's. By the way, I have to be careful. I don't kill him. Despite this, Garashi's SS gate, all 8 gates in Sage Mode strongest. The enemies is Pooh, SSS, SSS. S's sigh, it seems like I was too heavy-handed. At this moment Pusher, who was traveling underground, was at a loss. Wasn't he fighting an enemy? SSS to him. He's almost numb from the pain. After a while, half of his body disappeared, and the rest of his body was crushed. Pusher, who was lying on the ground like a mollusk, asked, Who am I? Where am I? By the way, I was just beaten. Feeling the scorching heat around him, Pusher's slow mind became a little sober. Am I hit to the core? Without waiting for him to struggle, he heard a voice that made him feel disgusted. You're not dead? That saves me a lot of trouble. He doesn't want me to die. Why? Pusher fell asleep as soon as he had this thought. Garashi took back the scroll with more than 30 layers of seals and flew to the ground happily. Ground. Everyone stared at the huge hole leading to the ground. They guessed that Pusher was not the leader's opponent, but they didn't expect the gap to be so big. Raza's one punches. Didn't Otsutsuki say he was a god? If he's a god, then what is the leader, the god king? For a while, the haze that shrouded everyone's heart gradually dissipated. Isn't it just a few hundred Otsutsuki? Leader's strength is enough to throw a few hundred punches. On the side, Boruto scratched his head. It seems that the crisis is over? The middle-aged Sasuke took a deep breath. Garashi, Sama is still so strong. Even with Garashi, Sama's strength, Naruto and I have indeed slacked off these years. Boruto nodded in agreement. Dad spent too much time dealing with official business. Uncle you. By the way, Uncle, why did you slack off? Maybe because I lost my goal, the middle-aged Sasuke said with uncertainty. Just as Boruto was about to continue asking, the crowd suddenly burst into cheers. Leaders here. What made them feel even more relieved was that Garashi, who appeared again, replied personally. The threat is officially lifted. After a burst of cheers, someone asked, Leader, should we continue with the Jonin exam, or do we have another day? Garashi smiled slightly. There's no need to continue. Huh? What do you mean? Garashi flew to the judge's seat above and glanced at the candidates. You confirm your beliefs, implement your own ninja path, stick to your heart in the face of temptation, and never give up in the face of a strong enemy. You have passed the most important exam. I hereby announce that you are all Jonin. Double quotes. Are we all Jonin? Haha, as expected of me. The candidates were taken aback and immediately cheered loudly. But someone asked, Isn't it a bit too much to promote 90 Jonins at once? Garashi smiled and shook his head. Don't be too rigid. The Jonin exam's purpose is to select outstanding talents. There's no reason to reject outstanding talents just because there are too many of them. Since Garashi said so, the crowd naturally had no more questions. I'm sure everyone has gained a lot from today's incident. so I won't disturb your digestion." After that, Garashi directly teleported away with the flying thunder god. In the crowd, Gaara found Raza and asked, "Father, what's the thing you didn't finish before you died?" Raza's eyes widened. How can he be emotional when he's alive? Naruto found Sasuke and stammered, Sasuke thought Naruto was going to talk about today's battle. Today's battle doesn't count. Let's fight again next time. Naruto shook his head awkwardly. That's not what I want to talk about. That? Flying Thunder God's jutsus can be eliminated? I'm afraid you'll sleepwalk at night and come to my room with the Flying Thunder God. Bodo watched his father and uncle's quarrel in the distance with great interest, and then he felt someone patting his shoulder. He looked back and saw Hinata staring at him. Who are you? Why are you calling Naruto-kun's father? Chapter 544. The moment he saw Hinata, his legs trembled. He couldn't help it, the bloodline suppression was too strong. As long as he saw this face, he could recall the desolate years of being violently suppressed. Seeing Bodo's reaction, Hinata was more certain. Do you know me? No, Bodo said and suddenly covered his mouth. If he could cross over, then what if his mother also crossed over? If his mother knew that he didn't even recognize his mother, wouldn't she end up miserable? Thinking of this, Bodo broke the jar. Mom! This time, it was Hinata's turn to panic. What are you talking about? Not only Bodo, but middle-aged Sasuke also encountered the same problem. Minato stepped forward. Thank you very much for your help twice, but you seem to know Otsutsuki? Fugaku stood next to him. I'm very sorry, but it involves the eyes of the family. I have to ask, where did your eyes come from? Noticing that the other party didn't have Chakra's expression, he naturally thought of Kakashi. How can the people of the Uchiha family be so weak? There is no doubt that the other party's eyes must be transplanted. Looking at his middle-aged father, middle-aged Sasuke sighed. You gave me these eyes, Dad. Fugaku. Oh, Garashi didn't go home or return to the office, but directly entered the dream world. The information he was going to ask from Pooh was top secret, and it must be done in a place that was completely under his control, and there was no possibility of any problems. Also, even the brain of an ordinary ninja has a seal to protect information from being leaked. Not to mention Otsutsuki. Even if he severely damaged Pooh's spirit, it may not be enough to break the seal in Pooh's mind by force alone. He must use the power of the entire dream world. After preparing, Garashi began to lift the seal. Then Pooh, with only his head left, appeared in front of Garashi. Pooh was at a loss for a moment, and soon realized his situation, and cast an indifferent gaze at Garashi. You caught me to get information about Otsutsuki from me? Garashi chuckled softly. Obviously. Pooh sneered. Oh, give up on that idea. I will never betray my family. Just kill me. Garashi shook his head slightly. I never expected you to cooperate. Pooh suddenly had an ominous premonition. What do you want to do? Bear with it, it might hurt a little. Garashi smiled and put his right hand directly into Pooh's forehead. Pooh's face was ferocious for a moment, and then he screamed miserably. The pain of the soul was far greater than that of the physical body. It would have been better if he had fainted or died from the pain. But his spirit was incomparably tough. It was as if someone had chopped off his head with a blunt knife. For Otsutsuki, who had hardly experienced pain, this kind of pain was simply despairing. Garashi's face was cold and indifferent to Pooh's crazy screams. 30 seconds later, he frowned and pulled his right hand away. With the addition of the power of the dream realm, he could indeed break the seal in Pooh's mind with brute force. However, the problem was that Pooh's soul would collapse the moment the seal was broken. He could only take advantage of the moment when Pooh's soul collapsed to grab a few more soul fragments and read the memories in them. And the part of the memory he read, if it was the content of Pooh's sleeping and eating, wouldn't it be a huge loss? As expected of Otsutsuki, who can move unhindered in the universe, his protection of intelligence is too strong. Garashi sighed. Hearing Garashi's sigh, Pooh laughed with a grim face. Haha, even if you are strong, you are just a lucky mortal. If you want to touch the realm of God, you are still 10,000 years too early. Garashi didn't care about his ridicule and thought a little. It seems that I have to find foreign aid. Foreign aid? In Pusher's puzzled eyes, Garashi took out a scroll. After unsealing it, a black mud sneakily poked out part of its body. Seeing this, Pusher couldn't help but laugh. Are you going to use a black mud to deal with me? This is not a simple black mud, but a black mud with the same bloodline as you, Garashi said and looked at Black Zetsu. Am I right? Otsutsuki Zetsu. Yes. The words Otsutsuki Zetsu simply poked Black Zetsu's G-spot. He proudly straightened his body, and then looked at Pusher with proud eyes. He was suddenly scared. Otsutsuki Zetsu? That golden Rinnegan, that inviolable bloodline suppression, isn't that Otsutsuki? It looks like Otsutsuki from the main family. For a while Black Zetsu was a little confused. Has he been sealed for thousands of years? Qingshui Shushi, this big monster, had even captured someone from the Qingshui family and beat him up so ruthlessly. Too ferocious. Otsutsuki Zetsu? Pusher frowned and sensed it, then turned his head in disgust. A defective product of the inferior bloodline. Is it worthy of being compared with me? Black Zetsu's eyes widened. If he was a defective product of the inferior bloodline, then what about his mother, the source of his bloodline? Thinking of this, he suddenly burned with anger. You can insult him, but you can't insult his mother. You are powerful, but weren't you caught? You, Garashi said coldly. Don't quarrel. Black Zetsu suddenly remembered that he was still a prisoner. He looked at Garashi with a flattering look. This guy is too arrogant. He was caught by Garashi-sama and is still so arrogant. I can't stand it. Shushi looked at him with a half-smile. You're quite flexible. You've adapted to your new identity so quickly. Black Zetsu smiled and said tentatively, I just think that if you want to go to war with Otsutsuki, a powerful ally can help you reduce the threat from all sides. Before he was sealed, his last memory was to use 9 truths and 1 lie to guide Garashi to become his new help. As a result, Garashi didn't give him a chance to speak and sealed him. Now it seems that Shimizu Garashi hides too deep, and it is likely that he knows a lot of secrets. Sure enough, Garashi looked at him with a smile. The ally you are talking about is the Sage of 6 Paths, or the ancestor of the moon, or your common mother? Sure enough, he knows everything. Black Zetsu lamented in his heart, feeling that his value had decreased again. But he still didn't give up. Since you know my mother, you must know how powerful she is, right? If you are willing to help me save my mother, I promise that she can help you resist the threat from the main family. Garashi laughed. Not to mention that even Kagaya himself is afraid of the Otsutsuki main family. How can you guarantee that your mother won't come out and destroy the world? He really knows everything. Black Zetsu suddenly felt that his life was gloomy, and there was no interest in living. At this moment, he heard Garashi say in a slow tone, however, it is not impossible. Chapter 545. Black Zetsu's spirit was refreshed, and he was suddenly revived. What do you mean? Garashi smiled slightly. In dealing with the threat of Otsutsuki, she and I do have a common enemy, so after growing to the same level as her, I can try to free her. If it was someone else who said that he would grow to the same level as his mother, Black Zetsu would definitely scoff. But the person who said this was Shimizu Garashi, a big monster who could even defeat his own family. Maybe it was really possible. Moreover, his mother was immortal. Even if they fell out in the end, at most she would be resealed like now. There would be no worse ending. Thinking of this, his whole body was rejuvenated. Garashi-sama, what do you need me to do? Black Zetsu asked. Of course, he knew that Shimizu Garashi must have a purpose to make such a promise. Sure enough, Garashi pointed to the side. I want you to possess him and read his memory. Pusher's pupils suddenly shrank. You want to use his identity to bypass the seal? Garashi admitted directly. Yes, that's what I think. Then I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. Pusher sneered. With his soul strength and bloodline purity, the only result of possessing me is that he will be devoured by me. Black Zetsu hesitated. He's right. The result of forcibly possessing me is that I will be eaten by him. Don't worry, I'm here. Garashi looked indifferent. I will make him unable to resist. With Garashi's guarantee, Black Zetsu was relieved. Okay, then I'll go. Black Zetsu's body wrapped around Pushur. Get out! Get out of my way! The Rinnegan between Yurishi's eyebrows released pressure. But before he could make the next move, he was suppressed by Shushi. Under Garashi's suppression, Pushur's will was defeated, and not long after, his whole face was covered by black mud. Sure enough, trash is resources in the wrong place. Garashi nodded slightly. He knew that it was impossible to organize Pushur's memory too quickly. So he waited quietly. As Pushur's memory was gradually digested, Black Zetsu's heart was set off a storm. Pushur came from the future of the parallel world. The key was that his mother in the parallel world was resealed by 2 kids. Also, he thought that hundreds of thousands of years had passed. But in fact, it was only 5 years. In just 5 years, Shimizu Shushi had grown to the point where he could kill Otsutsuki in seconds, and even developed a ninjutsu like Time Rewind. Who was Otsutsuki? There was even a trace of fear in his heart. Could his mother really suppress Shimizu Garashi? Should he hide some key? As Black Zetsu's thoughts wandered, Shushi suddenly laughed. I believe you're a smart man. You wouldn't change or hide key information, would you? If you do, I will be angry. Black. I really think I even think with him, with him, I with him with me think. I even think I know what. Thinking of this, Black Jew laughed. How could that be? I, Otsutsuki Zetsu, have always been honest and trustworthy. Garashi did not point it out and said, Tell me the strength of the Otsutsuki clan. His eyes are really on Otsutsuki. What a bold move. Black Zetsu sighed in his heart and then quickly replied, There are 602 people in the clan, including 425 low-level warriors, 144 mid-level warriors, and 33 high-level warriors. Garashi was a little surprised. This data is much lower than I thought. Black Zetsu explained. Otsutsuki is not without enemies in the starry sky. Otsutsuki's method of ecological extinction and draining the pond to catch fish has caused many people to be dissatisfied. Also, the colonial planets under Otsutsuki's rule have been rioting for nearly 1,000 years, and the ranch's output has been greatly reduced. The replenishment of combat power is not as much as the loss in the war. According to the analysis of the clan, there should be other forces behind the colonial planet's riots. So that's how it is. Garashi nodded slightly. He was not interested in the war in the starry sky for the time being, as long as he knew that Otsutsuki had no time to care about here. By the way, how are the low-level, mid-level, and high-level warriors differentiated? Black Zetsu explained. Otsutsuki is born strong. They will assess the future through the strength at birth. The most powerful high-level warriors will have everything at birth. They are royalty. The weak low-level warriors can only be cannon fodder. They are not even servants. In other words, the so-called low-level, mid-level, and high-level are just the differences in potential, not completely representing combat power? Garashi asked with a strange look. Black Zetsu nodded. Otsutsuki pays attention to bloodline, but most of the time, bloodline does represent strength. Garashi was thoughtful. Go on. Black Zetsu continued. Otsutsuki is an extremely cold-blooded and cruel clan. Even among the same clan, there is no warmth to speak of. The low-level warriors are instilled from birth that sacrificing for Otsutsuki is the supreme glory. Then, they will be sacrificed to the god tree, and when the god tree bears chakra fruit, it will be enjoyed by the mid-level or high-level warriors. Garashi was a little surprised. Sacrifice. Black Zetsu's voice was low. The chakra of a planet is too chaotic and jumbled. Even the god tree can't absorb them together. The noble Otsutsuki bloodline must be used as the core to turn the chakra into an absorbable chakra fruit. Mother is such a low-level warrior, and the Otsutsuki Ichiki, who came with her, is a high-level warrior. High-level warrior. Although he had such a guess before, Garashi was a little surprised. There are only 33 high-level warriors, and one is missing. The Otsutsuki clan didn't send anyone to look for it? Black Zetsu said, Garashi, Sama, you can't look at Otsutsuki with the eyes of mortals. Although 1,000 years is long, in their eyes, it is only the time for a season of rice to mature. It is normal for Otsutsuki Ichiki to guard the planet and ensure that the chakra fruit is not eaten by insects and birds. However, after this season's time, if Ichiki does not return, they will indeed send someone to look for him. In this guy's memory, the main family sent 2 Otsutsuki called Mamashiki and Jinshiki, and he sneaked out by himself. Time waits for no man. Garashi sighed and asked, has there been a precedent of a low-level warrior betraying the Otsutsuki clan before? Black Zetsu shook his head. Never. Garashi nodded, and he somewhat understood why Ichiki was plotted against. Originally, from Ichiki's successful sneak attack, he initially determined that Ichiki was mentally retarded, and his IQ was most likely not more than 30. But from the contact between Black Zetsu and Ichiki in the parallel world, the other party's IQ seemed to be normal. Now it seems that the reason why Ichiki was attacked was that Kagaya hit too well, and he didn't expect a low-level warrior to have the ability to resist him. The question now is, how did Kagaya change from a brave and resourceful rebel to what he is today? Chapter 546. Garashi thought for a moment. Perhaps the reason why Atsuki didn't guard against Kagaya was because everything changed after they came to this planet? They wantonly destroyed the indigenous people on this planet, forcing them to lure Kagaya. Kagaya was tempted to betray Atsuki, and after getting the power of the indigenous people, she had the capital to launch a sneak attack. In other words, she was likely to be eroded by the god system before eating the chakra fruit. This also explains why a strong person like her could be contaminated. Garashi shook his head. He thought this way to dispel the scruples in his heart, so that he would not be so resistant to the god system. In the end, he still had to wait until he caught Atsuki to know the truth. Garashi continued to ask, the Atsuki clan's way of increasing their strength is to eat the chakra fruit? What's the reason why Pusher ate his own eyes before? Black Zetsu nodded. Although they can rely on cultivation to improve their strength, it's too slow, and most people don't have the patience. It's also because the Atsuki clan never produces, and only knows how to plunder, that their reputation in the starry sky is so bad. As for eating themselves, first of all, you have to know that in addition to eating the chakra fruit, the Atsuki clan can also increase their strength by eating their own people. In order to avoid excessive internal strife, in principle, it's forbidden to directly eat their own people. Only the sacred tree sacrifice, which occurs once in 1,000 years, is the best opportunity to transform their strength. But most of the sacred tree sacrifice is controlled by superior warriors. It's very difficult for intermediate warriors like Pusher to have a chance, so they came up with this magical operation of eating themselves. Hearing this, Garashi could only sigh. The boundless universe is full of wonders. Black Zetsu continued. Pusher sneaked out this time, because he was dissatisfied with the possibility of being assigned to Mamashiki. He waited for thousands of years and didn't get the chance, but Mamashiki was assigned to the sacred tree sacrifice just a few decades after she was born. Of course, he didn't dare to destroy it openly. He just thought that if Mamashiki failed, it would be his chance to come out and enjoy the fruit. Shushi nodded slightly. A young upper-level warrior, a middle-level warrior, who has never presided over the ritual of the divine tree, and a lower-level warrior, who was used as a sacrifice. It's no wonder that this combination of clay chickens and pottery dogs failed. Even a low-level warrior from planet Otsutsuki is enough to suppress a planet. 3 Otsutsuki can even make a galaxy tremble. The reason they are so weak is because you are too strong, Garashi. Black Zetsu flattered. Garashi calmly said, the difference between low-level, middle-level and high-level warriors is obviously not enough to explain Otsutsuki's strength. You should use the number of times he presided over the Sacred Tree Festival to differentiate. Black Zetsu thought for a moment and said, there's no need to talk about the low-level warriors. Among the mid-level warriors, 23 of them were given a chance to host the ceremony because of their contribution to the tribe. As for the high-level warriors, except for Tao Shi, who is a new generation. They have all hosted the sacred tree ceremony at least once. As for the specific number of times, Pu Shi doesn't know. Only senior warriors have the right to know. It seems that there is one more reason to catch Ishiki. Garashi nodded slightly and asked. Most of the low-level warriors are sacrificed for the sacred tree ceremony. Is it possible to use mid-level or high-level warriors as sacrificial offerings? This should not be possible, right? Black Zetsu hesitated. In this guy's memory, he is quite proud of his identity. In his opinion, high-level and mid-level warriors are equal most of the time. Garashi did not comment on Pu Shi's opinion. He just chuckled. Speaking of which, the reason why Kagaya can be so strong, is it because the sacrificial offerings are high-level warriors? Black Zetsu opened his mouth. I don't know. Garashi calculated in his heart. Tao Shi is a high-level warrior. Ishiki is an incomplete high-level warrior. And Kagaya is a different kind who ate high-level warriors. If the three of them can be sacrificed to the sacred tree, the chakra fruit it bears will be incomparably powerful. Having said that, Garashi still did not dispel the idea of advancing his 4 systems at the same time. Because he has never been afraid to speculate about people who are stronger than him, with the worst malice. What if there is a monster hidden in Otsutsuki that specializes in feeding on high-level warriors? At least in his view, Otsutsuki's 6th system is easy to give birth to monsters. As long as the people in the front have evil thoughts, it is possible to treat the people behind as food to ensure their supreme status. Saying that it is forbidden to kill people of the same race, maybe it is just to prevent the race from giving birth to people stronger than themselves. Therefore, even if the power of chakra is strong, he will never let it be his only reliance. Thinking of this, Garashi said indifferently, remove the possession. Yes, Black Zetsu said carefully, worried that Garashi will seal him in again. The black mud gradually pulled away from Pu Shi's face, and Pu Shi, who regained control of his body, looked at Black Zetsu fiercely. You dare to betray the family, you will? Pu Shi screamed and blood flowed from his eyebrows. Garashi used violent means to dig out his golden rinnegan. Black Zetsu trembled and bowed his head, not daring to speak. Without waiting for Pu Shi to curse out loud, Shushi resealed him. At least, he can be used as a fertilizer for the sacred tree. Otsutsuki Zetsu. Black Zetsu said, I'm here. What should I do with you? Black Zetsu smiled very flatteringly. You can do whatever you want, even if you reseal me. How can I do that? We are allies. Garashi laughed. Well, I will arrange for you to be with someone. I don't have to be sealed, great. Black Zetsu was excited and asked. Who are you going to arrange for me to be with? Otsutsuki Ichiki. Oh, Otsutsuki Ichiki. Black Zetsu said and suddenly reacted. Wasn't he sacrificed by mother? How is he still alive? Garashi shook his head slightly. How can a high-level warrior of the Otsutsuki clan die so easily? Black Zetsu trembled again. If my identity is discovered. It's not if, it will definitely be discovered. Black Zetsu turned into a puddle of soft mud. Then what should I do? Garashi said, improvise. I believe that with your ability, you will be able to stabilize him. Black Zetsu suddenly felt that the future was not bright, and asked tentatively, what if my memory is read by him? Garashi said calmly, don't worry. I will set a seal in your soul. He is not in a good state now. There is a high probability that he can't break it. Not in a good state. Black Zetsu asked. He attacked me 9 years ago, but I seriously injured him. Garashi said, Boss. Black Zetsu was shocked. That was a big man that his mother had to attack to defeat. Hearing that he was seriously injured, Black Zetsu suddenly became more confident. You can rest assured, I will deceive him, let him be injured. Who told you to aggravate his injury? Black Zetsu asked. What do you want me to do? On the contrary, I want you to help him recover from his injury, on the one hand, to gain his trust, on the other hand. Garashi said faintly, the chakra fruit produced by sacrificing a high-level warrior will be more delicious, isn't it? Black Zetsu trembled again. He actually intended to sacrifice a high-level warrior. Is this the vision of a boss? Chapter 547. In the central tower, the people around Sasuke and Naruto were surprised. Although they already knew about the parallel universe from their leader, it was the first time they saw a visitor from a parallel universe, especially the few people who were related to the two of them. For a moment, they didn't know how to face them. In the end, Fugaku patted Sasuke's shoulder. Before you go back, ask the leader to check your body. My body, my own. Sasuke was a little unsure and doubted himself. Is there really something wrong with me? On the side, Hinata tried her best to educate Boran. When you go back, you have to listen to me in that world. Don't mess around and don't fall in love. Boran's eyes widened. Aren't you in love now? Hinata blushed. Unrequited love can't be counted as puppy love. Unrequited love. Can mom's matter be counted as puppy love? At this time, a gentle voice came from behind everyone. Oh, everyone's here? Leader-sama. After greeting him, Sasuke hurriedly asked, Garashi-sama, Otsutsuki Makura. Garashi shook his head slightly. Don't worry, he's been sealed by me forever. That's good. Boran patted his chest hard. Garashi said seriously, since the matter is settled, it's about time for you to go back. Are we leaving? Boran was still a little reluctant. Sasuke said rationally, it's rare that we've defeated the enemy. Of course, we have to tell everyone the good news quickly. Don't let them worry. Boran also knew that it was better to deal with the pain quickly. He steeled his heart and took out the little tortoise. Plow, take us back to the time when we set off. Yes, please sit down. Plow is about to activate. Plow said mechanically. Boran waved his hand hard. I'll remember everyone. As soon as he finished speaking, he and Sasuke were taken away by a beam of light. Seeing the two leave, everyone felt a sense of loss. Fugaku suddenly slapped his thigh. Oh no! I forgot to ask the leader to check Sasuke's body. After the matter was settled, Garashi asked Aizen to take the golden Rinnegan back to the parallel world. After some preparations for war, the ninja allied army of the parallel world was finally formed. At the meeting place of the major columns, Gaara, who served as the commander of the coalition forces, spoke his mind on the high platform. I also hated everything and tried to destroy the world, just like the Akatsuki today. However, a ninja from Konoha stopped me. He cried for me an enemy, and regarded me as a friend. He saved me, and we understood each other, and he told me what love is. Naruto, who was in the crowd, was a little shy. He touched his nose embarrassedly. Gaara, why are you being so emotional? It's so embarrassing. Sasuke snorted and said, You are all Jinchuriki. Of course, you can understand each other. Suigetsu whispered behind them. Karen, don't you think that Sasuke is very similar to you when you saw Haruno Sakura? Shut up. Karen was a little irritable because she felt the same way. Fortunately, Sasuke and Naruto's conversation quickly shifted in another direction. Why isn't the commander-in-chief of the coalition forces Garashi-sama? Is it that reckless Raikage? Sasuke asked unhappily. I heard that Garashi-sama doesn't want to leave too many traces in this world, Naruto explained. I reluctantly agreed to join the coalition forces for the sake of Garashi-sama. No matter what you arrange, I will only listen to Garashi-sama's orders. Sasuke said proudly. Naruto didn't persuade him, and looked around with some doubts. Speaking of which, where did Garashi-sama go? I haven't seen him today. At the same time, Gaara's speech came to an end. I want to protect my friends and the world, but I'm too young and too shallow to do such a thing. So please help me. As soon as his voice fell, all the phalanxes burst into cheers. Of course. Gaara-sama. Standing in a different dimension, Rikudo Sennin's eyes were full of relief, and then he looked to the side. Outsider. Thank you for waking me up and letting me see the scene I've always wanted to see. Rikudo Sennin's words are too serious. I just happened to be here. Garashi smiled. By the way, the power you used to wake me up seems to be the same as my truth-seeking ball. Rikudo asked with some doubts. This is the power you gave me in the parallel world to gain your trust, Garashi said as he released part of the truth-seeking ball's power. Rikudo Sennin twirled his beard. Yes, this is indeed my power, and I haven't lost it, which means you are indeed from a parallel world. With Rakuto's state of mind, a parallel world only surprised him a little, and he quickly accepted it. As for the credibility of Garashi's words, he didn't doubt it. If the other party had the ability to forcibly take the truth-seeking ball from him in the parallel world, then there was no need to pretend to be polite with him. Young man, what do you want me to tell you in the other world? Garashi's expression was solemn. It's information about Otsutsuki's family. At the mention of the family, Rakuto Sennin's kind expression became a lot more serious. Otsutsuki's family? Garashi immediately applied what he had learned, and told Rakuto Sennin the information his original body had obtained from Pushur. This time, even Rakuto Sennin's state of mind couldn't remain calm. Low-level, mid-level, high-level warriors, the sacred tree sacrifice. Even Mother didn't mention this. Garashi analyzed. Maybe the low-level warrior's past was a humiliation to her? It's possible. Mother is a very proud person. Rakuto Sennin said, and his face became worried. I thought that as long as the enemy was defeated, we should be able to obtain 1,000 years of peace. But I didn't expect that the sacred tree sacrifice was related to the high-level warriors of Otsutsuki. With such an important person lost, Otsutsuki must have done something. No wonder Mother was so worried. Garashi said seriously, in terms of time, this time and space is the future of our world. That is to say, this time and space will be the first to encounter a great calamity. That's why Rakuto Sennin asked me to come to this world to help. Rakuto Sennin was moved. You disregarded your own safety and risked your life to help our world. No wonder I trusted you so much in the other world. Garashi chuckled softly. What are you talking about? If the lips are gone, the teeth will be cold. Helping you is helping ourselves. Rakuto Sennin sighed and then asked, what do you think we should do? Garashi said, fighting Otsutsuki with our strength is tantamount to hitting a stone with an egg. In my opinion, the key to solving the future crisis is to steal the sky and change the sun, and turn Momoshiki into our people. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.